Thank you for joining us today for this ApplyBoard live event. My name is Amy, and I'm joined today with Erin Richling, Assistant Director of International Recruitment, and Dr. Benjamin Barton, Department Chair and Professor at the University of Idaho's Department of Psychology and Communication. Thank you for joining us today.
You're welcome. Thanks for having us.
Yes, we're happy to be here.
Great. Thank you. So, Dr. Ben, I'd like to start off with you. Can you tell us a little bit about what it's like in Idaho and why Idaho would be a great study destination for international students?
Yeah, so a lot of people who haven't been to Idaho might be surprised to find out that the state has quite a variety in terms of geography, right? So if you haven't been to the United States before, you'll be surprised to find out we have mountains, we have rolling fields of wheat, we have deserts, we have all sorts of stuff. So and from north to south, it's a very different state. And for a student coming to the United States, it's also a quiet part of the state where we are here in Moscow at the University of Idaho. It's very rural. There are a lot of farms, also a lot of mountains and wilderness not too far away. Moscow itself is kind of a vibrant, small arts sort of community, with the university having a heavy influence on the culture here. But for people who enjoy the big city and everything that offers, we're also very close to Seattle and Portland. So you can get many places from here very quickly. So you kind of get the best of both worlds. You get a quiet, interesting, different study environment and the beauty of the Pacific Northwest, but you also get access to the busyness and all the things that a big city could bring you.
Great, that sounds amazing. So, Ben, I'd like to ask you to tell us a little bit more about your psychology program. So when students are considering studying psychology for their bachelor's degree major, what should they be considering? What kind of mindset might a psychology student have, and what kind of academic preparation might they consider when looking at psychology?
So at the undergraduate level, many students come in with a heavy interest in clinical psychology or therapy, and that's actually a very varied area. There's counseling psychology, there's clinical psychology, there are all sorts of different fields within psychology as a whole, and many students don't realize that when they come in. Which is okay. When you're coming in, there's a lot to explore still, and the faculty and the advising staff will help students sort all that out. But I think it's important for students to be mindful that when they come into psychology, there's a lot more to it than what you might see in the movies or on crime shows, right? I get a lot of questions from prospective students about forensic psychology, for example. So it's a discipline with a lot of variety. I mean, I can rattle off some things here for you. We have cognitive psychology, developmental, clinical, industrial, organizational, human factors psychology, social psychology, and counseling psychology, which is a little different from clinical. And some of our students go on to be in the medical field, go to grad school. So there's a lot of variety. It's a field with many subfields and a lot of history. And so I think it's important for students probably to keep that in mind and not feel like that they have to come in and specialize in something right at the beginning.
That's really helpful to know. Are there opportunities for experiential learning, like research or internships when studying psychology at the University of Idaho?
Absolutely. And we have those built into our undergraduate curriculum. We have two ways that students can get course credit toward their degree for doing research work, but also toward doing internships. And that those experiences are different for every student. It's one of the ways that each student's undergraduate experience can be different from another student's. So while many students will take specific courses as part of their undergraduate degree, when they get to those opportunities for research or for internships, those are customized. and every student gets a little something different out of them. So we have opportunities to work in research labs in the department, and those labs are connected with laboratories across the country with our colleagues. So students very often get a chance to do data collection, programming, virtual reality stuff in the laboratories, as well as clinical psychology and some of those other disciplines that I mentioned. And in terms of the internships, those are very often located in the community, but sometimes students do those when they go home for the summer or when they're living elsewhere for a semester. And I should also mention we have many students who do a study abroad option too. So they may do that internship while they're gone somewhere.
Oh, that's interesting. So Ben, I'm curious to know what types of classes would a student take in your psychology program, and sort of what can they expect to study?
Well, like most psychology programs, you do have some of the same things, like you have introduction to psychology. And some students bring that with them from high school or other universities. But for a student who has had nothing in psychology yet, they would start with introduction to psychology and then quickly move into our research methods course and statistics. And the research methods and statistics are actually a couple of the courses that are linked to some of the sort of more unique transferable skills that a psychology major gives you. And from that, you will go into upper division courses. We have two core areas, one on personal and social bases of behavior, and another one on the biological experimental bases of behavior. And those courses include things like abnormal psychology, physiological psychology, psychology of learning, sensation and perception, social psychology, developmental psychology, and more. Above that, that's where you get into your upper division elective courses that provide some of those unique experiences I was talking about. And students can, if they want, also with special approval, take some of our master's level courses in our human factors program.
Can you tell us a little more about human factors?
Yeah, we have sort of an unusual graduate program for a psychology department. We don't have a counseling program here, although many of our undergraduate students do go on to that. Human factors, I like to tell people it's a blend of engineering, psychology, and sort of artistic design. And it's an industry that grew out of the aircraft industry after the Second World War. And it deals with designing systems and products, workspaces, and all sorts of things around the human user. So it's very user-centric, and it includes, we have courses on engineering and human factors design. We have research methods courses tied in with that, and numerous other things. But many of those students are in industry. We have students here in Moscow in the grad program, but we also have students around the world who are in our master's program in military, the oil industry, aircraft industry, and all sorts of different backgrounds. And just one person to mention, I have a pilot in one of my classes who flies a refueling plane in the Air Force, who is based in Japan. But I've had students from all over the place, and they sometimes end up in classes with our undergraduates, which makes a really unique experience for seniors.
It's a really unique and interesting program that you have.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to switch over now to Erin. Can you tell us a little bit about any scholarships that are available to international students who are applying to the University of Idaho?
Gladly. So we have a really excellent undergraduate scholarship called Invitation to Idaho that's designed to keep the door open to those who want to study in the U.S. and at University of Idaho. And it brings, it's approximately $15,000 applied to out-of-state tuition. So it brings that to annual tuition costs down to what we feel like it's, a more manageable, amount for students who qualify. So students who are applying and have a 3.0 or higher GPA are automatically awarded this scholarship, and then they can choose to accept it as they proceed, through our application process.
Great. Thank you so much. We already had a question in the chat about scholarships, so I think you've addressed that. That's great.
Excellent.
And are there opportunities for students graduating with a bachelor's degree in psychology from the University of Idaho post-study? So, for example, work opportunities or graduate school. What do students do after they graduate?
That's a great question. Pardon me. And I think that we see all of the students taking each of those paths at University of Idaho as excuse me, at many other universities. We offer OPT and CPT to international students so they can continue, that hands-on experience, after they graduate with their undergraduate degree, which is very meaningful to the student and just their career trajectory. We do see a lot of students choose that path and then return to graduate school, which is always exciting to see, where they're wanting to take that initial degree and then to continue supporting them. But I think we see the whole gamut. And, I would let Dr. Ben chime in as well.
Yes, please.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. We have students who do all sorts of things after graduating with their degree here. Some students go into graduate school. I've had advisees who graduated and went into social work. I have people who are clinical psychologists, some who are neurologists, others who have gone into the military, some who went in even locally into counseling services and things like that. I like to tell people that sort of the way it works is with an undergraduate degree in psychology, you can work in the field of psychology. I think what comes with an advanced degree, if you want to get a master's or a PhD in a field within psychology, it brings more autonomy in your work. Meaning that you might have opportunities due to that training and that degree that you wouldn't have as an undergraduate. But that doesn't mean that you can't work in psychology with a bachelor's. So our students sometimes don't go into psychology, and that's an interesting thing too, because the American Psychological Association has information on their website about what we call transferable skills. So you get transferable skills from your undergraduate education that are useful in many occupations. And in psychology, some of those skills include being able to understand, being a good consumer of research and understanding information out there that comes out of research. Using statistics, also being a good writer. Many of our courses are fairly writing intensive. Our learning objectives are also kind of centered around synthesis and bringing ideas together and doing something with that. So those are skills that people can transfer into other occupations, even if they're not psychology.
Great. That's so helpful for us to learn about. And my last question for you, Erin, is, of course, COVID has changed the way that we do a lot of things, including education. Can you tell us what are you doing at the University of Idaho in terms of COVID protections, and are you returning back to in-person classes? And can you tell us what students could expect?
Definitely. So we're excited to say that we're in person. We've really tried hard to create a safe, environment where that can happen. And so, in line with CDC guidance, masking and distancing is happening on campus. And then we also have the ability to monitor wastewater. And so we're able to identify, if we're seeing an increase, in the COVID virus on campus. And so I think that we've really taken some good steps to monitor and prevent. And then also the students have really been excellent. I mean, I think we all recognize the importance of doing what we need to do now so that we can have the experience that we want. And I see that happening at the U of I campus. And so, we're in person right now. Of course, always watching the situation locally and globally, but navigating it well, I think.
Great. Thank you for that. And thank you both for joining us today and sharing more about the University of Idaho. And for the viewers, please follow us on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. And you can watch this again as well. Thank you so much. Our time is up, and I appreciate you both joining us today.
Thank you for having us, Amy, and ApplyBoard.
Yes, thank you.